Welcome to Tales from Tubi.
Hey Tubi friends! Welcome to another episode of Tales from Tubi. For those of you who don't know what Tales from Tubi is, this is where I take my love of Tubi and my love of horror and I bring them together right here on Old Man Brad. And we are finishing up. We're right at the tail end of October. We had 3 movies previously for the fiery October of horror. We did Pyro with my friend Ryan Alteri. We did Don't Go in the House with my friends the Cinema Psychos. And last week you heard me talk to Dustin from Flicks and Friends about their playing with fire. But we're not done with the fire yet. I think this week is the most fire of any of the films. We're going to be talking 1990s Spontaneous Combustion from Tobe Hooper. But I have another guest. I have another Dustin. Dustin from the Barren's Hideout podcast. How you doing today?
I'm doing great, man. And, you invited me on after you came on our show. And I was like, yeah, man, we got to do this. And you gave me a list of things like, hey, we're going to be doing Spontaneous Combustion. I'm like, ooh, I haven't seen that in a long time. So I'm happy to be here, man.
I had never seen it. I had never heard of it until I started this search. I decided to start doing these fire movies for this month, and I was like, wait, this is a Tobe Hooper movie? Well, Brad Dourif? What?
Yeah, Tobe did a lot of movies that a lot of people don't realize that he did. And then when you go and look at everything, you're like, oh, that movie. You're like, oh, I gotta check that one out. So yeah, this is definitely one that I think went under the radar for a lot of people.
Yeah, I had no idea, but I'm happy to finally see it and know about it to tell people about it. It's interesting. We'll get to that in a minute. But before we do, I just want to say come out to the Esquire Theater on the 3rd Friday of the month. I host a horror screening, and our screening for October just passed. You just missed Trick or Treat. But don't worry, for November, we are going to be watching Thanksgiving. That's right, the Killer Turkey. But come out November 15th, 10 p.m., and let's watch a movie together.
Hell yeah, man. That's awesome.
Let's move into Spontaneous Combustion.
Tobe Hooper, the modern master of the macabre, now brings you his greatest achievement. In the spring of 1955.
Okay, Brian, Peggy, very soon. Ready now. Ready.
A secret experiment began. An experiment that left one survivor.
The vital signs are all perfect. There's no signs of radiation.
Now, the child has become a man.
Well, that looks like you lived. Got a slight fever.
A man who doesn't know the secret of his past.
My parents didn't burn to death, they drowned.
Something's happening to me.
2 people I know burned to death.
Or the terror of his future.
They're watching me.
Nobody's interested.
Before his enemies can stop him. Stay back! Before his gift will transform him.
The doctor can save your life. There is a vaccine.
Sam Kramer must uncover the mystery of his own life.
All right. You should never have been born. And if it wasn't for me, you never would have been.
And fight fire.
I will use my gift.
With fire.
A young man finds out that his parents had been used in an atomic weapons experiment shortly before he was born, and that the results have had some unexpected effects on him. This is co-written and directed by Tobe Hooper. It stars Brad Dourif and Cynthia Bain. Those are our 2 main leads in the film. And this came out, it was released early 1990. I think it had some screenings in 89. So depending on where you look, it could be, you'll see 2 different dates. But real quick, what did you think of, you'd seen this before, right?
Like years ago. Okay. So I forgot a lot of this movie. Like I looked at some people like doing reviews, like Monster Madness from Cinemassacre. I think he did like a very quick thing on it. So like, saw that years ago, and I think I watched it after, but I forgot a lot of this movie. And there's a lot of it that I like, and there's also a lot of it that I'm just like, I don't know how I feel about it.
Yeah.
But it's definitely a movie to go and watch, especially if you like Tobe Hooper.
Yeah, I'm the same way. There's a lot that I really liked, but then there's a lot where you either scratch your head or you're just like, huh?
It's like, how did we get there?
Yeah,
but, okay,
exactly.
we're rolling with it.
But reading into it a little bit, it sounds like the studio kind of took over some things from
is
Tobe.
Unfortunate, because that happened with Tobe a lot. Like as soon, like after Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and you had the Funhouse. When he started doing more films, they kind of like step in, like talk about like Poltergeist, like that had Steven Spielberg all over it, but it was really Tobe that was there doing it. So he always had people there, kind of telling him what to do, which sucks. But I think the end product, it's pretty good.
Yeah, it's solid, but it could use, I feel like there was more to it, especially at the end. There was more that I felt like either was missing or needed more explanation.
I'm right there with you, man.
But basically it starts off in the 50s. You have this couple that is basically taking part in an atomic bomb experiment. They're staying in a fallout shelter. They're like, here, you guys can live down here. We're going to blow up a bomb and see what it does to you.
Yeah, have fun.
I was like,
for an entire month.
So they do, and then she ends up pregnant. And what I find funny is they seem shocked. How could you do that? Like, get pregnant you
put rules out to say, like, you sign this waiver that you guys will not have sex and have a kid. You're down there for a month.
Just them.
What are they going to do? And the guy says, like, what are they going to play Parcheesi? Like, what the fuck, dude? Come on.
They're alone. No contact with anybody. Some nights you just need someone to hold.
Yeah. And I mean, they were together, I'm pretty sure, as a couple before they went down there. I don't think they were like two strangers. So it's like, of course. Like, what? They're going to have a family when they come out. They're going to be, might as well just do it now. Like, what the hell? I would. I'm sure you would be like, I'm bored.
Yeah.
Let's do something.
Like, we've played the board games. We had dinner. A few drinks in us. Let's have a good time.
Let's go have a dance.
Then this baby is born with a birthmark on its hand. And this scene, after the baby's born and the nurse comes in to take the baby away, and the parents just spontaneously combust into flames. But the nurse, just stands there. Not even, trying to get help. Nothing. She's just holding the baby. Just watching them burn.
Yeah, it's a weird scene because there is, sort of a little tension that's happening with all this because you don't know what's going to happen. You know the title of the movie, Spontaneous Combustion. So you're like, okay, something is going to happen.
There's going to be fire, hopefully.
Yeah. So, she's, getting her temp taken, and then, the stick breaks. And back then, mercury and everything, they had it in there.
She's spitting the mercury out and, washing her.
So I guess the mercury, did something that whatever they were, taking, I think, caused something to happen. And that's what caused them to explode?
Maybe. Yeah, this is pieces that don't fully get explained. Like, when the baby's born, the baby has a temperature of 100 degrees. And they're like, well, it can happen. Some people run hotter than others. Okay, fine. They're over the Geiger counter checking the baby, making sure he's not radioactive or something, and he's fine. So there's okay. They were very concerned about this. She got pregnant in the fallout shelter.
Yeah. I don't think they were checking them for radiation at all, right? I don't ever remember there being a scene of them being
they checked them when they first came out, but I don't think they checked them any other time. I don't believe.
I'm pretty sure you want to do that for them as well, not just the baby. But hey, I'm not a scientist, so who knows?
Well, I mean, there was a little bit more behind the scenes that we find out later that there's some, I don't even know what the drug was that they were giving them.
Some atomic juice.
Yeah.
That's what I call it.
It was bright green. That's what I know.
Yeah. It's like reanimator juice.
Yeah. But I wrote in my notes that when the husband and wife spontaneous combust and then they bring in the one expert doctor. Is he a German, I think? And he's picking at the ash of the body and he pulls out a skull, but it's tiny. It's like a miniature skull. Did he shrink too?
I don't know. I was thinking the same thing. I'm like, okay, they had spontaneously combusted, but wouldn't their skull probably like burst? I don't think it would shrink, but
or it would burn too. I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah, because he pulls it out and just holds it in his hand like it's this tiny little this little baby skull. What?
Yeah, that was a bit weird, but yeah, that was a funny scene with him just kind of like talking about it, and he was like, "Oh, spontaneous human combustion," and they're all like, "Huh?"
Like, "Oh, yes."
Yeah,
like
you're
they all
right.
knew. Oh, yeah, you got this. You got this. And we jump to years later. Now it's grown up baby. It's Brad Dourif. We all know Brad Dourif. Those in the horror community know Brad Dourif.
You should.
You should. I mean, Chucky for one, but he's had many roles. He's kind of a little quirky, odd guy, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. One thing that I'm really confused of is where they didn't really say where this building is. Is it a school? Is it a place they're working? The one thing that really confused me was like, where is this location? What is it?
Is it just like some sort of, I don't know. I didn't really say. There were many scenes that like you're watching it, and it kind of just jumped to the next thing, and you're like, I don't think they resolved what happened in this previous scene. It just
no.
Let's move on.
Yeah, there's definitely some things, and like, yeah, we get introduced to him. We meet his new girlfriend, and then some people. I guess it's like he was acting out for a play. I think is what he was doing.
Yeah.
So that's why I was like, is this a school?
And the way he was acting out, he was doing it stupid and silly. Like, how did I do? Like almost like a joke, but it was weird.
With the car, like he goes to his car and someone's just in his car, like, and he's like so like nonchalant with it, like, oh, how's it going? I would have been like, what are you doing in my car? Like that like kind of took me off a little bit, but it's funny, it's quirky, it's got its own little charm to it. But yeah, I think his introduction was pretty good.
After this, is this where he goes and meets his ex-wife for dinner?
Yeah, that's another weird thing. It's like,
and they like stick him with the bill, and it's not just that. They like he's supposed to meet him for dinner. They're like, oh, we were hungry, so we already ate. Oh, we got to go. You can get the bill, right? And he leaves to go talk to him, but then like the waiter comes out, and they're all upset about basically dine and dashing on him. There's multiple lines, multiple people come by.
I don't even know. I was thinking like maybe they're trying to get him angry because like what happens later on, like when you get mad, like he starts.
Yeah, he's a fire starter. He gets mad and he'll burn you. Well, he starts to combust out of him, but then he can project it to other people.
It was the doctor, right, that was with his ex-wife, and he's like, oh, he's always been around, and like you start to understand things later on with him, which that's also kind of weird because I think with him, he said that he took over from his father. Am I remembering that correctly? I think he's like, I took over.
The doctor?
Yeah, like the main dude.
Maybe. Did he? I'm trying to remember. Like there is just.
I just rewatched this right before we did this too, and I'm still scratching my head because there's so many like sort of plot holes that happen.
There are, because I'm like, which guy was the guy in the shadows from the 50s? Was that the...
I think that's Lou.
Okay.
I think.
Because you never see him in the 50s, but then later on he comes, but you kind of think that, okay, is this that guy?
I think it's Lou. I'm just going to say it's Lou just so that my brain feels good.
Okay. All right. I'll go with it. Anybody listening and we're wrong and has seen this movie, they'll let us know.
Yeah. One thing I do want to say about this film, though, is I think the effects are amazing, and how they were able to do some of these like fire effects, whether it was like after and they just put it on it, or however they did it to make sure people weren't getting hurt, I think is amazing.
Some of the superimposing of multiple different fires was it didn't age well. Let's just say that.
Yeah.
But some of the other, like the first one where it started coming out of his arm.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool.
Oh, so cool.
Because you just see like this hole in his arm and flames are coming out. And I was like, oh, that's a pretty good effect. Or I think the other later, it comes out of his eye. Like he starts getting fire all over. And you come to find out he's not the only one.
No. And that's the other weird thing is like before we really learn his backstory, we get introduced to someone else dying from spontaneously combusting over the news, and then like another thing happens. It's just like everything just like rolls.
The radio one was the one that he called in, and he got like mad. I think he just burst him in the flames over the phone. Maybe?
Yeah, that guy, because he wanted to talk to the doctor.
Yeah,
which there's a lot of doctors in this movie. A lot of doctors. But that was kind of a fun scene too, seeing this guy just go back and forth in this little room, blowing up into flames. And the guy, like, it took me off a little bit because as the guy who was on the air, he was like walking out and you could see like the flames like on
the window.
It's like, how do you not look behind you and see this guy's like fighting for his life covered in flames? He's just like, I'm out.
You'd kind of, I think you'd kind of notice the room might brighten up a little bit behind you. You're like, oh, what's going on?
You might even smell something.
I mean, I can get, you won't hear it because he's in a soundproof booth, but
yeah,
you'd still like flickers. You'd see flickers and other things, but I don't know. I'm not in the situation, so
yeah. I mean, maybe he was just really tired. I understand.
He pulled an all-night shift, and he wasn't himself. I will say in this movie, as this movie goes on, Brad Dourif just chews scenery almost every scene that he's in. He just gets wilder and crazier. And any scene, he's like, I think it's the one where he's, is he in the phone booth? And he's just crazy and flames are sparking out. And like,
yeah, it's
those scenes that I absolutely loved. Like him getting crazy, the great practical, like fire coming out. And then you get others. It's like, this doesn't make any sense. It feels like, did a scene get cut that we don't know about? Did a couple lines maybe that would help us understand this?
There was definitely a few things like that. Towards the end with Lou, of him, his explanation as to why he's happy with where Sam or David is because he's like, oh, you can learn to control this so you can be a powerful weapon. What?
Did they call Lisa? Was it his sister? They said. Or not sister, kind of like somehow related because
somewhat related, I'm pretty sure, which was also kind of weird
because it came out of nowhere.
Yeah, and then like he started being like, oh, so you're part of this, and she's like, well, I don't really know, and then like he was taking these pills, and she's like, I don't know what they are. They just told me you got to take them.
Yeah,
and then saying that she was, I guess, insinuated that she got injected because he was saying that they were trying to go and inject him. And when she was at the hospital, that's when he started freaking out in the phone booth to be like, so you're part of this. I can't trust you anymore. And then goes to Lou's house to essentially kill him.
And was Rachel, the other girl, was she, I guess you could say, have the power? I don't know. Or did he burst her into flames? That's what I didn't understand because the way it cut.
I think he made that happen.
Okay.
I think from like what I saw, I have to rewatch that one again. What I was kind of gathering is like if he touches somebody, like whatever he might have on his hands, like whatever that's like coming off of him, if he touches somebody, like they can now get like this static electricity like we saw with the handshake.
Oh,
and I think it just ports to them and he can just blow them up.
The static electricity, and then he bursts. It's like oil. It's almost like oil that comes out of him, like black, sludgy blood.
Yeah, it's just a bunch of oil. He's like a robot.
Is that how he burns? The oil comes out and it just lights on fire.
Yeah. And the other thing too was like at the end where he's like, oh, I can take the power from you. And he's going to hell. I'm like, what do you mean you can like suck it from people?
Let's talk that ending. Spoiler alert, here it is. So he says he can take it from her. But then all of a sudden this light shines at him. He melts down into this light puddle. And then a hand comes up and touches her, and her fire goes away. And I'm like, what the fuck just happened?
Yeah, I don't know. I was confused too. I was like, well, this is a cool scene, seeing him kind of literally go to hell, is what it seemed like, and it turned into this like atomic pit, and just be like, I can now take your power from you.
The hand coming up and touching her, and then it goes back down, and then it just ends right after that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, did the movie not get finished? And he's like, I couldn't get the full ending in. This is where we got to stop. Or
I don't know if anybody has like a physical out there that's got like extended cuts or anything like that. I'm very intrigued to know.
Same.
Because I need to see a little bit more to have more closure on that ending. Because it's like, is she good now? Like, actually good? Like, because what it seemed like, it was something that was inside them, like biological from, being born in like this environment.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know how you could just like port that from them. But hey,
it wasn't explained. There was no setup prior to that of like being able that he has an extra almost I don't want to say a magical power, but something like that.
Something that has to be activated,
yes,
I guess.
That he can just like take it away from her.
Another thing that I guess, I don't know if it really bothered me, but I wish there was a little bit more explanation. If he went through this divorce, right, which obviously was super stressful, he had to deal with that. How during that was he not exploding? But then they said later on that he was taking these pills that may have activated what was inside of him. So I'm like, these people obviously knew what they were doing. So that's why he was normal all these years. But also, it's just weird that all of a sudden now you want him to do that.
Well, then he had
because the reactor's going online.
This doctor that he hated because he's like, this doctor is always wrong and can never get anything right. So that doctor was kind of working behind the scenes, kind of giving him, I guess, medicine to maybe keep everything down.
Yeah.
But yeah, a lot left unexplained, a lot where you will scratch your head. Some cool practical effects and fire effects. Like I said, out of the 4 movies we've done this month, this has the most fire of all of them. I will say that.
It's fun. I enjoyed it. I watched it twice. I didn't really complain about my viewings at all, other than me just being like, okay, so how did we get here?
Yeah.
That's all I really want to know. Someone let us know.
My brief research, there was no, aside from some comments on an interview with Brad Dourif, basically saying that he doesn't like the movie because they kind of took it away from Tobe, and it was a completely different movie than what he eventually saw, which is unfortunate because I would love to see what that vision was.
Release the Hooper cut. Somebody has it out there.
If it exists.
I like it for what it is. If you disregard all that and just go in to see some effects of people like exploding or whatever, I think you're gonna have a good time.
So what would you give it out of a 5?
I'd probably give it a 3 because I found it enjoyable. Yeah, there's parts like we were saying that some answers. So I think a 3 is pretty reasonable for what we were giving, and also knowing that the studio stepped in.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I'd probably hit on a 3. It was enjoyable enough that it's one of those like, you know what? I could throw this on late at night as a film, or, get a group of friends together and you go, you want to see something that's kind of wild? Let's watch Spontaneous Combustion. They'd be like, what?
Oh, yeah.
Anything else you want to say? Last words on Spontaneous Combustion?
No, I think just go ahead and give it a shot and watch it on Tubi. If you got a physical, let us know if there's any
difference.
Things on there that we need to go and check out.
Love to know. On our way out, is there any other, besides this, obviously they should go watch this, go watch all kinds of things on Tubi. Anything you've seen recently that they should go check out? Anything else?
The Pumpkinhead movies.
Pumpkinhead, all 4 of them, or would you?
I think it's only 3 on there right now.
Okay.
Still, that's a lot of Pumpkinhead.
It is.
And I love Pumpkinhead.
I binged all 4 last year. The original one, fantastic. It's a classic.
Oh, yeah.
Well, thank you so much for coming on, Old Man Brad, to talk Spontaneous Combustion. Where can people find the Barren's Hideout and what you're doing over there?
We're on everything, on YouTube, any audio platforms you're on. We're on all the socials. You can find us over at the Barren's Hideout Podcast. It's pretty much all the handles everywhere. We're on Patreon. Release things early over there. Right now, we're in October, going towards the end of it. So you would know that we're doing a lot of our Halloween movies and going through all of those.
Spooky time.
Yeah, there's a lot of really cool stuff happening in the works, and maybe a little bit of a movie happening between all these movies as well inside the podcast. So there's a lot of really cool stuff happening. So check us out anywhere you can find us. The Barren's Hideout Podcast.
I love the Tubi side of things. You can get Tubi picks from me, but if you need some Scream Boxes picks, go to you. You got your Screambox Essentials you bring out.
Hell yeah, man. Those are great. We're going really, really close to almost 100 movies covered so far.
That's awesome.
It's insane.
But they keep bringing a lot of great stuff on there, so you'll never run out.
Yeah, it's too much. But that's okay. It keeps me in business.
There you go. But yeah, go check them out. I think I was on a Screambox Essentials, and future episode I talk about one of my favorite films, Candy Corn, on there. So listen to that.
It was a blast having you on those as well. So yeah, man, thank you for having me.
You can come back here anytime. I had a blast.
Hell yeah, man. Anytime you want me, we're here. I'll bring the other one with me.
All right. Well, that will do it for another Tales from Tubi. Just make sure you subscribe to the show, and you will never miss any episode. I'll be back soon with a brand new episode. Just snuggle up in that blanket, turn off the lights, because it's okay to be scared. We'll talk to you later, everybody.